Psych and Business podcast, where we highlight the integration of psychology and psychological principles into the world of business and organizations. I'm your host, Dr. Ernest Wayde. I had a really great time talking to Dr. Jennifer Wisdom the other day. She is such a smart individual, and I think she and I are actually like-minded in a lot of ways, very organized, and I really appreciate that about her. I was fascinated that she actually made up a word, which she trademarked. It's called administructure, and she defines it as the strategic and explicit integration of people, structures, processes, and change to ensure that an organization meets its goals effectively and efficiently. I really resonate with that because it's really reminds me of my approach, which really focuses on the integration of people, process, and technology into business strategy. So for me, I start with strategy. I start with figuring out what are the goals of an organization, let's say for a 3 to 5 year period. And then we start looking at how are you going to achieve those goals? And that's where the business strategy comes in. So I'll sit with an organization with a leader and figure out how do we craft and execute a holistic strategy in terms of a holistic business strategy. So it's not just about the business strategy. It's not just about achieving that business goal. It's also about what are the organizational strategies that we need. And when I'm talking about organizational, I'm talking specifically about people and processes. How do we engage our people and processes to help them as they work to achieve our business goals and our business objectives? And then, of course, I think that for me as well, there's the information technology strategy, right? So how do we align our technologies to best support the achievement of our business purposes and goals? How do we put that all together in terms of the people, which are key, the most important resource, because they're the ones doing the work? How do we get them to use the processes which need to be effective and efficient? So how do these processes help our employees get the work done in an efficient and effective way? And then how do we integrate technology to that piece to make sure that we're making it easier for our employees to be able to do the work? So once I start with determining what the business strategy is, we also work to look at the organizational strategy, which again is the people and the process. And then we also look at the information technology strategy. I think to me, when we look at the organizational strategy, it starts with the people for me, right? I think when we talk about people, we're talking about the most important resource. They're the greatest contributor to the success or the failure of a business is your people. If you have good people, you generally figure it out. If you don't, you're going to struggle. So I will go in and work specifically with the leaders and the managers. I think for me, they are the crucial linchpin when it comes to the success or the failure of an organization. People need leadership. Businesses, organizations need leadership. They need great leadership in order to do great things. And so my focus a lot of the time is with the leadership of an organization. So I will do that in a few ways. I will do leadership development through activities and workshops, but also through coaching. And we've talked extensively on this program about how important coaching is for leaders, how important it is for leaders to continuously and consistently work to improve themselves and their abilities so that they can help their organizations be successful. I developed an approach with my colleague, Dr. Caitlin Castro, who you will get to hear from in one of the future episodes. We developed what we call the 3A coaching framework, which is really designed to help leaders improve their effectiveness by really starting with assessment of data about their personality and their behaviors, because again, we bring ourselves to the workplace. So we really need to make sure that we understand who we are, our personalities, our behaviors, our actions, all of those things. Start with an assessment. And then we look at the results of the assessment, again, because in psychology, we really focus on data assessment, data integration, data understanding. Once we have that data, we want to do something with it. So we work to adjust, which is the next A. We help leaders make the necessary adjustments, identify where they need to make the adjustments, and then work to improve making those adjustments by working closely with them. And then the last A is advance, because once the leader has made those adjustments, they have to integrate that into their workplace to make sure that their business is benefiting from that. Because that's what it's really about. It's about how do we help the business be successful by helping the individual leaders improve their skills and abilities. So that's the 3A coaching framework, and that's how we work with individual leaders and managers to help them improve. But there's also another aspect of this, which is team development, because no man is an island and no business is typically successful on the skills of one person. Leaders are important, but teams are crucial, I think, to success. And so I work to create effective teams, to build trust, and to increase communication and cooperation between the teams. And that requires, again, people to understand who they are individually and then to share that with other people. I take a three-ringed approach where you start with yourself. So again, starting with the leader, helping them to understand who they are, and then working with the people around the leader, whether it be their employees, whether it be their colleagues, whether it be their superiors or supervisors. I really want people to not just communicate that to others, but also understand how they're interacting with other people, how other people are motivated, really how can they work best to work together as an effective team to be successful. So I've actually gone into organizations where they don't have a process, and even if they do have a process, it's not well managed. Someone will say, here's our process book, but that's not really how we do things. It's absolutely critical when we talk about process management that we're actually documenting the way in which people are actually doing things. I remember a project where we were working with an organization to help them make changes through a technology change. And so we went in, presented the new technology, presented the new process that goes along with the technology, and thought that's it. Everyone should make the change pretty successfully. But we found that people were having a hard time making the change to the new process. And through working with the individuals, it turned out that they weren't actually following a process currently. There was no current process, and there was no expectation to follow a standardized way of doing things. And so trying to get them to follow a future process was proving difficult because we haven't done the initial work of making sure that they understood the need to follow a process, let alone the future process. We had to start by identifying what the current process should be. We had to have long discussions between different team members around what is the best way of doing things, what is the most effective way of doing things, and how is this team going to do things. Making sure that we documented the current process and then identified how the new technology would allow them to adapt and improve their processes in the future to take advantage of some of the things in the new technology. So until we were able to come to a point where there was an understanding that process standardization is critical and something that everybody should adopt, we really could not even get people to follow a future process, a new process, because the underlying understanding of standardization of a process was missing. And to do that, to help people make that adjustment, required us to work with individuals and teams. And this is where psychology comes into play. You have to understand how to work with individuals. You have to understand how to get these individuals to work as a team, as an effective, well-oiled team. And I think to me, this is where the value comes when you have individuals such as psychologists who are trained in human behavior and understand how the mind functions, have that extra advantage of knowing how to work with people to get the best out of them. Clearly, psychologists are not the only ones who are trained in human behavior, are not the only ones who have the skill and ability. I know many consultants who are not psychologists, but have an understanding of human behavior and how the mind functions, and understanding how all of these things are integrated really are a bedrock in any organization in order to get your people, your staff, your employees to function effectively and efficiently. So that's the first part of it. We won't get into the technology piece right now, but I think to me that organizational strategy, that people, that process is really critical to make sure that you're getting the best out of your organization. Focus on your people, focus on your process. All right. Well, thank you for listening. If you have any comments, please let me know. You can reach me at ernest@psychandbusiness.com. Hope you can join us next time.